On the outskirts of this small town in southern Poland, nestled between some railway tracks and a forest, sits a collection of buildings made from dirty, gray bricks. It is here where over 1.5 million people had their lives systematically taken away by Nazi Germany. This is the site of Auschwitz, the largest and most infamous extermination camp of them all. In today's video, we are going to explore the horrific events that took place at Auschwitz and try and discover what it was about this place that Hitler was so proud of. So come with me now on this journey back in time to 1940s Poland. You are now in Auschwitz. You have been transported here in a cattle car with hundreds of other people, packed tightly together, unable to move, let alone stretch your legs for days. The conditions are filthy. People are sick and starving. And after what feels like an eternity, the train finally stops. When the cattle car doors are opened, you step out blinking into the bright sunshine, unsure of where you are and what awaits you. As you look around, you can see rows upon rows of barracks surrounded by barbed wire fences, watchtowers with armed guards stationed in them, and a large gate with the words Arbeit macht frei written above it, which translates to "Work will set you free." What a joke. You are marched with the others towards the administration building and told to hand over any valuables you have, such as your money or jewelry. This is all recorded on a little card which has a number stamped on it. This is your new identity now. You are no longer referred to by your name, but by this number. They take your photograph and then you are given a striped uniform and a bowl of watery soup before being herded into a dormitory with hundreds of others to sleep on the floor. If you were lucky, you might find a bit of space near an old man who mutters to himself all night. If you are unlucky, you might find yourself sleeping directly under a leaky tap or perhaps next to someone who never stops coughing. Either way, it doesn't really matter because neither of these options will lead to a good night's sleep. Over the coming days, you would learn that the camp has many different areas. There is a small town for the officers and their families. There are workshops where prisoners are forced to work making things like shoes, clothes, and metal parts. There are gas chambers where people are killed and crematoriums where their bodies are burnt. You might be sent to one of these workshops to work making things for the German army. But if you are deemed too weak or slow, then you are selected to be sent to the gas chambers. Here, prisoners are told to undress and wash themselves, not knowing that it is a front for something much more sinister. Once everyone is inside the chamber, the door is shut and sealed, and a poison called Zyklon B is dropped through a hole in the ceiling. This is a pesticide, which when inhaled causes the person to suffocate very quickly. Within minutes, everyone in the chamber is dead. The guards then open the door and the bodies are taken out and burnt in the crematoriums. The whole process is incredibly efficient, designed to kill as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time. It is a well-oiled machine, designed to exterminate anyone deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime, including Jews, Roma, gay men, disabled people, and political prisoners. It was here at Auschwitz that the Nazis carried out their plan to wipe out every single Jewish person in Europe. In total, around 1.3 million people were deported to Auschwitz. This makes it the largest extermination camp of the Holocaust. Around 2/3 of those murdered at Auschwitz were Jewish, but it was also home to around 75,000 Polish citizens, 21,000 Roma and Sinti people, and 15,000 Soviet prisoners of war. But why did Hitler build such a place? Well, his warped ideology was based on the false belief that the German race was superior to all others. He believed that people should be part of a master race, and that those who were were a threat to the strength of Germany. He scapegoated the Jews, blaming them for all of Germany's problems, and convinced the German people that they needed to be removed from society. As a result, millions of Jewish people were persecuted, stripped of their rights and belongings, and ultimately murdered in places like Auschwitz. But why did Hitler choose this particular spot for his extermination camp? Well, the location was perfect from a logistical point of view. It was close to several major cities, making it easy to transport prisoners there. It was far enough away from the actual city of Berlin, reducing the risk of public outcry. and it was close to a number of forests and swamps, which provided ample supplies of fuel for the crematoriums. Auschwitz was divided into 3 separate camps: Auschwitz I, Auschwitz II, and Auschwitz III. Auschwitz. I was the original camp, and it is here where the administration offices, barracks for the prisoners, and the first gas chambers and crematoriums were located. Auschwitz-Birkenau, also known as Birkenau, is the site where most of the killings took place. This is the area that we are exploring today. Auschwitz III was a network of smaller camps dotted around the surrounding area, which were used for labor purposes. Prisoners were transported here from both Auschwitz-Birkenau and Auschwitz. Life as a prisoner at Auschwitz was brutal. People were forced to work long hours in terrible conditions without food or water. If they were caught stealing food, they were likely to be sent to the gas chambers. Many prisoners suffered from starvation, dysentery, typhoid fever, tuberculosis, and other diseases. Those who became ill were seen as useless and were also sent to the gas chambers. The Nazis kept the prisoners weak on purpose so that they could be worked to death or simply killed and used for medical experiments. Some prisoners were used as slave labor, working in the camp itself, while others were sent out to work in factories and farms around the area. The prisoners who worked in the camp were responsible for cleaning the toilets, cooking meals, mending clothes, and other menial tasks. They were given very little food and were beaten if they did not work quickly enough. Those prisoners who worked outside the camp fared no better. They were forced to work long hours and were often beaten or shot if they did not meet their quotas. It was not uncommon for prisoners to be worked to death. So how did the prisoners resist? Well, some prisoners formed resistance groups and plotted ways to escape or sabotage the camp. Others simply resisted by continuing to live their lives as normally as possible. They formed relationships, started families, and found ways to make life more bearable. One of the most famous prisoners at Auschwitz was a man named Rudolf Vrba. Vrba was a member of the Slovak resistance and was arrested by the Gestapo in 1942. He was deported to Auschwitz and spent almost 2 years there before escaping in 1944. While in Auschwitz, Vrba witnessed firsthand the horrors of the camp. He saw people being taken to the gas chambers, worked to death, and tortured by the guards. However, he refused to give up hope. He formed a resistance group and planned an escape. In April 1944, VRB escaped with another prisoner named Joseph Lango. They managed to get past the camp's barbed wire fence and hide in the nearby forest. Eventually, they were found and taken to a concentration camp, but they had successfully escaped. VRB later wrote a book about his experiences at Auschwitz, which helped to raise awareness of the horrors of the Holocaust. Another famous prisoner at Auschwitz was a woman named Helen Viola. Viola was a member of the Polish resistance and was arrested by the Gestapo in 1943. She was deported to Auschwitz and worked in one of the camp's factories. However, she refused to cooperate with the Nazis and was eventually caught. She was sent to one of the camp's gas chambers, but she survived when the Nazis decided to use her for medical experiments instead. After the war, Viola returned to Poland and became a leading figure in the fight against communism. She died in 2009. Towards the end of 1944, the Soviets began their final assault on Auschwitz. The Germans knew that they were about to lose the war and began to panic. They evacuated the camp and blew up the gas chambers and crematoriums.
Stand back. Give us some room here. Stand back. Back.
On January 27, 1945, the Soviets entered Auschwitz and liberated the remaining prisoners. Today, Auschwitz is a museum and memorial site. Millions of people visit each year to pay their respects to the victims of the Holocaust. The site is also used to teach people about the dangers of racism and intolerance. Auschwitz was a place of unimaginable horror. The things that happened there should never be forgotten. By visiting the site and learning about the Holocaust, we can ensure that this never happens again. And on that note, today's video has come to an end. But before we go, let us know your thoughts on the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Thank you and goodbye.